Hello, welcome to Practically Magic. I am one of your hosts, Courtney Pearl, and this is
Jaime Osbahr.
she's a crystal guide, and I am I don't know what I am, your local witch.
All-around healer.
You know who I am by now. If you don't, go back and watch other seasons. It's interesting because I actually had a topic for today. I've been trying to, as I normally would for season 1 and season 2, kind of like, okay, what is it that I want to talk about in this episode and have kind of an idea. And so far, all of the cards that we've pulled or the conversations that we've had, it just throws all of that out the window. Yeah. And I kind of love it. So maybe I won't plan as much anymore. Last week, we had the card that we pulled was stress, which was something I was hoping to talk more about today. So I was like, let's put a pin in that. Let's talk about that next week. We're going to talk about that. But it's interesting because it all just flows naturally wherever we're going to talk about it. I'm just going to talk about it when the universe says it's time to talk about it. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to pull a card today from, this is the Mythic Goddess Tarot. It's kind of colorful and fun, and I have not pulled a card beforehand. So again, we're just going to be surprised on air to see what card comes up for this episode. Ooh, okay. Four Pentacles, the 4 discs, right? The word is copiousness.
Oh.
Do you know that word? I don't know that word.
Is it like copulation?
Yes, please.
That. We could talk about that.
We could talk about that. Actually, that's a great idea. We should see again. I'm trying to plan an episode, but we'll just end up talking about that when we talk about it. But it's interesting because the 4 came up. I was, working with my social media, trying to post clips yesterday. I've been working on trying to, I have the new Practically Magic podcast Instagram. So I wanted to put some clips from there, from Prism Healing. And I've been kind of discouraged because social media is just a whole thing. Hi, Fred. But it's like, growing followers and how necessary is it? And, do I really want to focus on that? Because it feels very, look at me, look at me. But I looked at it yesterday and it was, my followers were at 444. And I was like, oh, actually, that works nicely. 4s are like stability. So in the tarot, it's kind of like you're not at the end of your journey or the goal that you've met, but you're at a really good place. Okay. So it's good to just stop and celebrate that. So the pentacles often come up in areas of wealth, earthly possessions, your finances, things like that. So just to kind of stop and reflect on, maybe I'm kind of in a stable place right now. I feel good. I feel like maybe I'm not where I want to be yet, but I'm feeling kind of okay.
On the right path, maybe?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, very opposite of what we had last week, which is stress.
Yeah.
And then we're talking about stress.
And now we're talking about balance.
Balance.
Isn't that interesting? Because what's the crystal that we're talking about today?
Yeah, we have copper this week,
which is all about balance. So when you talk about metals, just really quick, I'm just going to go through this. Maybe it's a good time to kind of plug the crystal. But when you're talking about metals, and a lot of times you're talking about jewelry or just whatever it is that you're using the metals for. Gold would be more masculine. It's that bright yellow like the sun, so it's more masculine. Silver is more feminine, like the moon. Copper is that balance between the two. So it is really good for a balance. This little card, I create these cards for, you probably can't really see it, and I've got the dog, but they describe the crystals that I sell. They have an affirmation. They have like what zodiacs they're connected to. Leo, is that interesting?
Yeah.
So it's Cambria, but what it says is, for sure, copper is known as a balancer of emotions. It's a conductor of energy. When used alongside crystals and stones, it intensifies, enhances, and channels their energy. Copper helps rid mental burdens and raise self-esteem through the power of high vibrations, helping you find mental clarity.
Yeah, I'll show that. Little cards that you can check out the crystals that you're looking to buy. what they mean.
These descriptions are also on the website.
Yeah.
For each of the crystals. So copper, this is native copper from Michigan. This is so cool.
I picked this one up and it was like attached to the ones around it because it's so jaggedy. How cool is that? Yeah. So different. I have a piece of copper. When I got a piece, someone told me, they were like, this is going to intensify energies with other things. So you can partner it with other crystals or you can partner with other things. And whatever that is, it's going to kind of intensify it. But it was a polished, round sphere, like a palm stone. But this is so raw and so cool.
Yeah. And you're getting all that like mineralization that copper gets that turns it that green color with the veining of the actual natural copper. They're just absolutely beautiful pieces.
Look at that.
So that is really cool that's the card that you pull.
Yeah.
And it goes along with the crystal that we're talking about. And we're going from last week talking about stress and feeling kind of that chaos.
Yeah.
To feeling more in alignment and balanced along with the card and the crystal. They just go together so well. It's really cool.
Perfect. I love that balance. I never even heard that. And I'm all about balance. But the masculine and feminine balance, because silver, copper, gold, that kind of in-between space, love that. I've been obsessed with balance of masculine and feminine for years. It's kind of what started me on this journey was just like the overwhelming influence of the masculine and the patriarchy in our systems and especially religious systems that we come from. It's like, sorry, I say like too much. I'm trying, listeners. I was listening to a clip of mine from the pod and I was like, chill on like. So I apologize. I will try to be more mindful of my speech. But yeah, I've been obsessed with the balance of masculine and feminine and to be able to honor both within each of us as well as in life and the life balance of that. So I love that came up, the Four Pentacles. It's kind of interesting. So the question I wanted to ask today, so I can ask you as a listener to just stop and think on this for a second. If you need to pause and reflect, I'm going to ask this question, but I want to ask you so you can think about it for a second. What has the power to ruin your day?
Too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, and I've tried to be a lot more mindful and aware of what I'm allowing outside of myself to impact and affect me, right? It's hard. It's hard to just say, well, not my problem. You know what I mean? When there's like a family member or a customer or anything, like there are so many things that can influence and impact that. But for me, it's been a change in just being aware, right? And saying, is that truly how I feel or am I having a reaction?
It's a trigger, right? Yes. It's triggering something in me that deep down, if you can uncover it, is a belief system. We don't realize it because it's subconscious, but it does. It always comes back to what level of shame under all of that is coming up when this happens. And it's funny because we were actually just, not to like throw you under the bus or anything, but we were setting up this morning. We're getting ready to record in the crystal shop and she was noticing like fingerprints on the door or little things, but I totally understand that. I understand that level of stress. Yeah. I get that way, especially with my kids. And that's something that again, that's another thing that really triggered my healing journey is, do you really want to be this kind of mom? Right. I mean, that's really deep down. The bulk of the work I do and why I do it was it started me on, I want to be a better mom and I don't want all these things to bother me because everything mattered so much. Okay. Still does. I mean, I still have days where I'm like, this is wrong and this is going wrong and this is wrong. And we can't get out the door on time and nothing is working and no one is helping me. And all those negative belief systems that I have adopted into my very soul deep down are all coming up, and nothing triggers you like kids.
Yeah, for real.
Or spouses. I think relationships in general can really just go, hey, where's all the parts of you that you have not healed or witnessed? Let's bring them all out and make it so hard.
Yeah. Let's learn that lesson one way or another. And most of the time we learn it the hard way because we're not conditioned to let things flow and let things be as they are. We want to control.
Yeah.
I want to have the certainty of, I've asked this person to do this and have this responsibility. And when you can see that that doesn't actually happen, immediately you're disappointed, you're upset, you're angry, you're like, why?
Yeah.
That's the big thing. Like, why? And I've learned recently in a lot of experiences in my life is you're not always going to know why.
Yeah.
You're not going to get that answer. So learning to move on with your life, move on with living in your true authentic self. And that's hard. It's very hard. But being able to do that and saying, I won't have that answer. I don't have control over the situation. I need to be able to move on.
Yeah.
Sounds so simple.
I know.
It sounds really simple, but...
And it's okay if you're not good at it. We're saying we're not good at it. It's part of the journey. It's part of the healing work. But, one thing that I've brought up in past episodes about neural pathways and compassion for others is, first of all, inner child work. When you're doing inner child work where you get to remind yourself of what it felt like to be a child and to be in the space where someone's expecting a lot of you and you don't understand how you're not measuring up and how that feels, that for me was a big change in how I interact with my kids. Because for me as a parent, I'm like, what? But the shoe drawer is next to the door.
It's so simple.
I put it next to the door and we can't get our shoes from the mat in front of the door to that drawer that I put next to the door. And I get so frustrated and so upset. And the kid hears something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
Because that's where the shame starts to build, the ideas that something's not right about me or there's something wrong with me starts to feed that monster. It starts to be like, here we go, like again. It starts to go, here's me feeding this already integrated belief.
Yeah.
That something's wrong with me. So they're going, yeah, why can't I remember to put it in the drawer? I don't know why I can't. I don't understand myself. I'm a kid and I walk in and I take my shoes up and then I walk in and then my mom's yelling at me and I didn't put my shoes in the drawer again. So it's kind of like being able to go back to your inner child, being able to go back to your 4-year-old, 7-year-old self and say, how did that feel when I was made to feel something was wrong with me? I couldn't do these things I was expected to do. And I was one of those kids up until probably early adulthood where there was a lot of details I didn't see, I wasn't good at, drove my parents crazy. They would, why didn't you wipe the counter after doing the dishes? And I've actually had full emotional processing sessions on just this alone, which is crazy. And this is not to blame my parents for anything because parents are all just doing the best they can. They know that. They're doing life. But I had sessions on, you didn't wipe the counter. And I would say, yeah, I did. I cleaned up the dishes and I wiped the counter. And they would go, no, it's still dirty. I still see crumbs or smudges or whatever. And they would, if you see it in the light, if you bend down, and they would tell me where I, missed the mark or I wasn't detailed enough. I didn't look. And I know what it felt like to be in my mind and to know I wiped the counter. So what I hear is, you're not good enough.
Yeah.
I don't hear you didn't wipe the counter good enough, which was probably true. 100%. I probably did not wipe the counter good enough. But what I heard was, you're not good enough. You're never going to get it. You're never going to be good enough. And so something as simple as the counter still not wiped was just emotionally difficult for me. I would cry. I would be, I did wipe the counter. I mean, it was so triggering. And so to undo that and deconstruct that and say, in some of the sessions that I did with that was I went back to my 16-year-old self. So that's usually what age I was handling those sort of types of things, where I go, what if I just heard the counter didn't get wiped all the way? Like it just didn't get done. And to a level of my parents' satisfaction. If I just heard that, my response could have been, oh, okay, then I'll do it again. And that's all it had to be.
Right.
It didn't have to be a fight. It didn't have to be my parents didn't understand why I was emotional.
Yeah.
They were
like a deep emotional.
Wipe the counter good enough. And I'm going, you never look at me. And it's, I'm 16. I was the first child. They were like, I don't know what to do with this. But everybody has stories like that. I mean, everybody has stories that it's your thing. So being able to just understand not just children, but other people, every person walking around has a different brain map. They have a different way of getting needs met, and they have a different way of seeing the world than you. So to think, okay, so these young people that work here, and they're lovely, and they do a great job. I didn't mean to throw anyone under the bus. I only mentioned it because it was perfect for what we're talking about.
Right.
But to just say, you know what, they don't see the switches on the window. Maybe they just don't. That's not a detail to them that they notice. You do. You're wanting your shop to look a certain way. You want,
Well, the lighting is different too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Compared to 9 o'clock at night when the shop closes to early in the morning when the sun is coming in at a different angle and it's saying, hi, the smudges are here. Look at me.
Yeah.
Oh, this is over here. Look at me. And it's like,
yes.
Yeah.
And this shop is your baby. So you're going, you have to take care of my baby the way I would take care of my baby.
Right.
And that's perfectly understandable. But it's just a great example of things that can cause us stress. And what I had wanted to talk about that was expectations. I always kind of try to talk to my art students, because art, I always feel, is a great way to see the way we do life. We're doing life like artists. We really are. We're looking forward at our future. We're looking at who we want to be and our identity, and we're painting that picture. We're making and creating our life the way we want it. Just like we would if we had a blank canvas and we said, now I'm going to create a piece of art. And so when I teach art students, I really try to use art as a metaphor for life. And if you go into a certain art project with these very high expectations, these images in your head of, make this a beautiful landscape that's going to be so breathtaking, it's going to take everyone's breath away. It's just going to be this crystal clear lake and these beautiful pine trees and this mountain range in the background. And I have it all here in my head of what it's going to look like. And then you start painting and it's not working. And the lake looks like a blue blob. If you're a 10-year-old making a painting and you think, I want it to look like a Bob Ross painting, but what I'm making looks like a blue blob, that can be so frustrating.
Yes.
And 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds is the developmental stage of when they start to switch from, I'm just doing things for fun, to I have to succeed at these things. There's a definition of success and failure that happens at age 9.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when they decide they're a good artist or they're not a good artist. And most of them decide they're not a good artist because they can't get their artwork to live up to expectations. Do you think of anything that you...
That was exactly the age that I told you the story about. I believe it was 3rd grade. I know the grade I was in. I know the name of my teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I can still see her face, and it still affects me to a degree of just, I don't know. I still don't trust that I can create art. But I had put time and effort into creating this. I think it was like a comic strip.
Mm.
So it wasn't anything like very artistic or like anything crazy, but it was something artistic, right? So it was like 4, what do they call them? Windows, blocks?
Yeah, panels.
So, panels, that's what it is. And I created it, and I was happy with how it turned out. I was excited, and I take it to my teacher, and she looks at it and she goes, is that the best you can do? And I was like,
I hate stories like this.
yeah, that I put a lot of time and effort, like that's how I was feeling. I don't know if these are the words that came out of me, but when I relive this, I feel like she just took this big bubble that I had and she just popped it.
Yeah.
And then she continued to stomp on it by showing it to the whole class. Ugh. And making fun of it.
Can we go back in time and punch her in the face?
I want to, yeah.
That's what I do in my healing sessions. I'll be like, do you want to go back to this age and feel this anger and feel this how it felt at the time? And then I give people permission. I'm like, do you want to punch her in the face? Let your little 9-year-old self just punch her in the face and go,
don't say that. It's really awful. So from that time on, and even to this day, I struggle really, really hard to make anything quote unquote artistic, to put something.
And you are very artistic. That's what's so sad, is what a stifling that does. And then again, it's just a feeding of that shame monster, that shame part of us that goes, I'm not good at this. I can't do art.
I'm not good at it.
Which is why healing through art is such a powerful, I just cannot express enough how much I love doing that work, because I do think that I meet more adults than not that go, it's an art class. I don't want to do that. I'm no good at art. And I go, listen, people have come into my healing through art workshops and they are like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't have any art experience, but I don't teach skills. I don't teach you how to make a flower or a bird or things like that. There's classes for that. There's many great artists that teach you that stuff, and they're much better artists than me. But I'm hoping that when you walk out of there, you have expressed yourself and you have let your inner child out and you've said, I made something really cool when I'm done.
Right. And along those lines, one of the classes that we did, your full moon course, we came and we did, was it just a canvas? It was like a metal frame. I can't remember, but it was like this one of like the second.
We did a canvas. Yeah.
I didn't think about it. I just started putting colors out there and just created something, right? And I was like, whatever. I put it in the back part of the back seat of my car. No, the front, okay, start over. The front seat, like there's a little pocket in the back of it, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I put all of my stuff in there and forgot about it. I'm just like, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
And
just like a kid would do.
Right. Yeah.
So that's great.
Well, I still can't really step into that I trust that. It was healing and it was great. But I don't feel like I created something beautiful that I wanted to share with everybody.
Yeah.
Or for me. And that's good too.
I think that's perfect.
But I put it back there, and then we as a family were driving somewhere. My husband was driving, I was in the passenger seat, and then my son, his girlfriend, and my daughter were in the back. And my son goes, Mom, what's this? And I was like, I don't know, what is it? Because I forgot it was back there.
Yeah.
And he pulls it out, and I was like, oh no, don't look at that. Don't look at that. And he goes, well, why not? I think it's really cool. Did you make this? And I was like
chills.
I did. I made that. And, I started to kind of explain a little bit, but then I was like, no, I'm not going to explain it because that's for me.
Yeah.
If you guys want to look at it and appreciate it, that's great. But they all had great things to say. But my first reaction was, they're just saying that.
Yeah.
Right. They're just saying that.
Yeah.
They don't want to hurt my feelings.
That's that shame monster. Yeah. That's that part of us. Right. And you have to understand that there is a critical side. There's a critical judgmental side to all of us. And it's not a bad side. It's not a side that you have to be like demonized. But you have to understand that that side is born out of protection and safety. Right. That part was probably born that day when that teacher said those things, because then you decided, I need this part of me that goes, I'm not that good. Oh, it's nothing. You guys are just saying nice things because you're my family and you're placating me, right? That protects me seemingly, or we think it does, protects me from getting hurt.
Yeah.
Right? And that's not a bad thing. It's just, do we want to listen to that part, or do we want to feed the part that says, what if I just do things like you said, just because it was for me? And I think that's why I do art with healing, because you do want to just make it for you. That is what all artists are doing. Even the ones that made this great art and then they sell it in galleries, the ones who are really the best, I think, are the ones who made it for themselves. That there was something inside them wanting to get out and be expressed in whatever way it came out. I mean, commissioned paintings and things like that, yeah, they're lovely, and artists can have skills to make a painting that looks like a portrait, that looks like a picture photograph. I can't do that. I'm not skilled enough to make something that looks that real, but we do have cameras for that. Right. There's no the art world has changed so much that we don't want pictures or paintings that look exactly like a photograph. Why would we want that? We want something that expresses something of a feeling when you look at it. Or that's what I always tell my art students, why Vincent van Gogh is so amazing. He's my favorite artist. I have a son named Vincent. There's Vinny right here. Vincent van Gogh is one of my favorites because everyone thought he was terrible. All of the artists of Paris at that time looked at his artwork and said, why are you doing it like that? It's not blended. You're using the wrong colors. It's all kind of weird looking. Like, it doesn't look like the person or the landscape that it was supposed to look like. It looks like you dreamt it. And they just thought it was childish. They thought he was very immature as an artist. And when he died, the art world looked at it again and said, oh my gosh, he didn't paint what he saw. He painted what he felt. Those were his feelings about what he was seeing. And then it was like, he's one of the greatest artists that's ever lived. I can't help it. I'm not a big Doctor Who fan, but the episode where they talk to Vincent van Gogh and they bring him back to the future with them, there's a scene, I watch it over and over again because I love it so much. But they bring Vincent van Gogh to his exhibit at the museum, and they ask the curator to talk about Vincent van Gogh while he's there listening. And he's like, it's one of the best acting I've ever seen. Oh. But he says, Vincent van Gogh is one of the most amazing artists of all time. And he changed art forever with his style and everything, and says all these amazing things. And you see Vincent van Gogh just tearing up. The actor that they got to play him looks just like him, and he's just tearing up. And you're just, I think I named my son Vincent after that scene particularly because it was so powerful. And I thought, that's so true. What an amazing transformation of perception that represents. That this man lived his life with so much mental illness and so much shame and so much, so hard on himself.
So much criticism.
But he painted anyway. And that's what's kind of cool, is that he wasn't getting any accolades. He wasn't getting people telling him he was an amazing artist. Nobody bought a painting of his. But he has so many.
Yeah.
He just kept going. He just kept painting.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Planning on talking
about that. I wish I could have powered through something like that, but I was already in such a fragile mental state that anything like that was okay. Yeah, I believe you. That affirms all the things that I've already told myself or that I've learned of myself. So I'm going to take that as truth. Mm-hmm. And I'm just going to live with that. And I'm going to allow that to control how I proceed in my life with art.
Yeah. Which, do you feel like because of that, does it bleed into other areas of your life where you say, okay, if I can't do art, this is also what I've decided about me and success, or me and money, or me and, which is kind of the point, is it all kind of overlaps. Yeah. Bleeds. Our shame, our stress, or our bits and pieces that poke at us. And that's kind of the point of noticing those moments of stress throughout the day, is just when we notice that these things really bother me, And I love that you said control, because those who've listened to the podcast know I've talked about that endlessly. That's my big issue. That's why I get so frustrated with my kids, because I feel like y'all are stealing my peace because I want my house to look a certain way, and I want my day to look a certain way, and I want my life to look a certain way. And kids have a way of going in and being like,
nope.
Like if you had like a deck of cards all laid out perfectly, they're like all over it. Which brings me back to expectation. You have all of these expectations. You have expectations of what your painting should look like, or you have an expectation of what your day should look like, or how your business is going to go, or how just anything. Expectations. It's a little bit like perfectionism. You have these expectations, and it's not a bad thing to want things or to visualize things the way you want it. But there is a difference between expectation and anticipation.
Mm-hmm.
And so the way I teach kids is expectation is here. And for those just listening, I'm just putting my hand up in the air. And
like a level, we're trying to
a level,
yeah.
Right.
It's a high level.
And then reality is down here. And there's all the space between. That's what stress is. Stress comes from my expectation is this, but reality isn't meeting it. And now I'm stressed.
And now I have to figure out how to get those to, how to get that. Yeah. So you're not trying to bring your expectations down.
Yeah.
You're trying to push everything.
Push reality into that expectation.
Yes,
and that is not how it works. Especially, as we've talked before, about how much of that centers around other people.
Right.
And your environment. Is like, if your expectations are here, my kids are going to behave. Actually, this is a perfect example, because we were at the networking meeting yesterday and I brought my kids. The reason we moved the networking meeting, we thought the library would be a great location is because those of us with kids would be able to bring our kids. They could be in the library. We could have our meeting. Well, not my kids. Well, not always. Sometimes they're very well behaved.
The other kids there were also strict.
They were a little, yeah. So they got a little rowdy.
For a long time.
And had to be asked to sit in the chairs. And so again, it's one of those things where if my expectation was, I'm going to have this hour-and-a-half long meeting while my kids just quietly roam the library and read books and have just this very quiet, gentle time together, which I have 3 boys. That's never the case. I don't know when at home we ever have just like quiet, not fighting, not loud times. But yeah, they got a little rowdy. They started running around and chasing each other and that kind of thing, and got in trouble. So again, I could have been like, okay, my expectations were this. My reality was this. Tons of stress in between that, oh my gosh, I just need to sit in this meeting and I don't want to be interrupted. And no, reality is I'm probably going to have to, give them tasks, give them something that is engaging for them to do. And I'm going to have to go out there and check on them often and settle them down and redirect them. And I'm going to have to be more hands-on in both of those spaces, not just be totally present in the meeting, which I knew, which is why I couldn't be leading and hosting the meetings, because I'm going to have to step out and handle my kids while they're home for the summer. So yeah, anticipation would be, I anticipate that I'm going to be able to engage with this meeting somewhat, and that I am going to have to also engage with my kids and keep them on track. And anticipating that just about anything could happen in that space. We may have to leave if the kids just can't handle themselves there and it's too long of a meeting for them. But I am going to be able to at least see my friends and networking people. I'm going to be able to at least show my face and be present enough for them to know I came and I cared and I connected with some of them. Am I going to be able to connect with everyone? No, that's an expectation. Mm-hmm. But just, I anticipate that I'm going to be able to see some people, and I'm going to be able to have my kids check out books at the library. Mm-hmm. And that is exactly what happened, along with all of the other things that happened. So it's about kind of going into it with, what is the most important thing that I get out of this? And no matter what happens, can I still get that? No matter what, even if the things don't work as planned. So
let me ask you this. How do you feel about the phrase, hope for the best, but expect the worst? Because
and I think that's a fine line, right?
Right. I find myself saying that, but it doesn't feel like it resonates because you're saying, I want this and this is where I want to be, but it's probably going to happen this way.
Yeah.
Right? So you're taking away from.
You're kind of like pulling that vibration all the way down the worst.
Right.
I do think in cognitive therapy, I love the idea of if you suffer from anxiety about things, saying what's the best thing that could happen, what's the worst thing that could happen, and then what's most likely to happen. Because I feel like that allows you to bring it back into a space in the middle that is so gray area that so much can happen. And then your brain is already settling down because you think, well, the best case scenario probably isn't likely, but the worst case scenario isn't likely either.
Right.
So that means somewhere in the middle is more likely.
Yeah.
And I do that with my kids. And I always recommend it with kids because sometimes kids can think up the worst case scenario for, the first day of school or something they're nervous about. So to just kind of play with it and say, okay, best case scenario. And you go way above and beyond here. You show up at school and it has turned into Disneyland and there are roller coasters and rides and everyone's handing out ice cream cones for free and
they're burning all the books.
They're burning all the books. Yeah, you don't have to do any work. And it's, you can really have fun with it. You can just go above and beyond what's really reality. And then worst case scenario, they're locking kids in dungeons.
They're whipping them.
Yeah. There's nothing but tests all day and then mountains of homework at night. You just kind of like drum up this really awful experience. And then it gets creative and kind of fun. Because then you go, well, that's not really likely. We're not expecting that to actually happen. Somewhere in the middle might be more where we're going to be. Are we going to have fun all day long? Probably not. But I have known teachers to pull out some fun things and do fun things once in a while and celebrate when there's an accomplishment. So I do think, the phrase that you're saying, it kind of does make you, when you say expect the worst, when I talk about manifestation or visualization, that's kind of like, we're just going to go ahead and visualize the worst.
Yeah.
And is that really the energy you want to attract?
No, because it's where you put your focus, right?
Yeah.
Wherever you're putting your focus, like if you want to focus on the big delusion, the big happy, the most unlikely best thing that can happen, then that's going to bring you closer to that. I'm not going to say that that's actually going to happen, but it's going to push your vibration upwards, right?
Yeah.
Where if you're like, oh, the worst thing is going to happen, I'm just going to focus on that, that's more likely, then actually that's probably what you'll get closer to that.
Yeah.
So I love how this is all kind of circling around to balance.
I know.
It's circling around to the card that you pulled and the crystal that we're talking about and staying in that gray area. The gray area that you're talking about is the balance, right? You talk about swinging the pendulum. We've talked about this a lot lately too.
Bring it back.
In my childhood, the pendulum was way over here. It was very controlled. It was, you have to go to church every Sunday. You have to live your life in a certain way. These expectations are set on you, and I could never meet them. So when I had control of that, when I could say, I'm not going to do that anymore, I took the pendulum and I swung it way over here. And I said, I don't want anything to do with that anymore. If that's what spirituality, religion is,
Here's a way of rejecting that completely.
I did that all the way over here. And I lived in this for a really long time. And then I found crystals. And my pendulum started to kind of come down into that gray area, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what people are talking about being spiritual.
Yeah.
Right? Not religious, not anything else that has that stigma to it. Spirituality lives within each of us.
Yes. And it's empowering.
Right. And however you choose to live in that spirituality, whether it is an organized religion, whether it's something metaphysical, whether it's whatever that looks like for you, if that's what resonates and feels good, lean into it.
Why not?
Lean into it, because
and play with it.
Do
and
we want to
explore it.
feel good? Do we want to enjoy our lives? Or do we want to constantly be questioning if we're doing it right?
Oh,
It's so heavy. And to be able to like let that go.
oh my gosh, that was powerful. Always questioning whether we're doing it right. I feel like that's like laser being focused on some of the really deep work.
Right.
That is kind of when you come down to it, that is a lot of the stress. A lot of stress that people are experiencing is, am I doing it right? Am I pleasing others?
People? Am I a good mom? Am I a good wife? Am I a good friend? Am I a good dog owner? Am I a good homeowner?
Yeah.
Am I there's so many things that we can set that expectation that you were talking about.
Yes.
We can set that so high. There's absolutely no way we can get there.
Yeah.
So
perfectionism,
that gray area is balance.
Yes.
It's finding a way to say, I would love to have all of these things up here, and I would love to not have all of these things down here. How can I live in harmony and balance between the two?
Yeah.
And find a path that works. What works for you might not work for me. What works for me might not work for the next person. But when you find that, and what I love what we're doing here is sharing our experiences in life so that others can look at that and go, wow, I want to try that.
Yeah.
And you don't have to do it exactly the same way.
Or call it the same things. I mean, I'm always real hesitant, and I should just like commit and say a thing the way that I use it. But since the podcast first started, I'm very hesitant to say spells or, to call it one, or God, to call it one thing, because I really, really, really keep feeling like every time it comes out of my mouth may not be what you call it, and that's okay. Like what I call it and what you call it, that can be so different, and still everything I'm saying will resonate, will fall in line to what you need.
Right.
That makes sense.
Right. Yeah. So probably something that you should challenge yourself with is living your authentic self, calling it what you call it, but then also understanding and letting others know it doesn't look like that for you, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's such a heavy burden to carry.
Yeah.
To feel like we all need to do it the same way. We all need to live up to these expectations. We all need to do this and that to get to heaven. Or otherwise, if you're not doing it perfectly, you're going to hell. You're going to hell.
I know. And
it's so black and white, and it's so heavy. Why?
Yeah. After some time away from organized religion, doesn't it kind of feel, when you think back on it, like it just feels ridiculous? It feels so, wild.
Yeah.
That there are still people who sit in church and just hear should the whole time. And they are somehow fed from that. And when you've stepped away long enough to explore, what is it that I want? What is it that and you look back on that and say, wow, that was just a cage. That was just like being in a cage and not knowing that there was a whole world outside of it.
Right.
And if religion works for you and you're fed from that, great. No judgment. But just from my perspective, looking back, I think, I don't know if I could ever sit in church again.
Right.
But would ever be able to listen to that and think, oh yeah, this is great. I'm fed from this. I would be, well, great. This works for some people. I don't know. I need to figure things out for myself. But yeah, I did want to say too that, and I've kind of talked about this in past episodes. So if you go back and you look at some of the episodes I've done on neuroplasticity, and when it comes to stress, I'm thinking about some of the people that I know that have jobs where they're incredibly stressed, and it's just costing them their health and their wellness and their relationships, because at work, it's all encompassing stress. And that's not to say that there are jobs that are very stressful, and that's a thing. But it is up to each of us individually to figure out how we can allow the stress to happen to us throughout the day and come back to a balance so that it doesn't build and build and build and build throughout the day. It's a complete rewiring of the brain to be able to figure out how to do this. So it's not something that you can just do, I'm going to decide today that I won't be stressed out. You probably will end up pushing stress down rather than dealing with it or resetting. So if you're just saying, I'm going to go through the day and I'm just not going to be stressed, it really does take quite a bit of work to reprogram your brain into a way where you actually do acknowledge and handle the stress and then come back to reset. But coming back to reset is really the essential part, because if you're stressed, you're coming along and then you meet a situation and then you have that bump up in stress. Being able to use the stress as, okay, this is the healthy amount of stress that gets me moving, that gets me acting, that gets me to react. For example, firemen.
Well,
I think there does need to be a level of stress that they experience when the bells go off. I don't even know if that's still a thing. I'm like imagining, 1920. They're like sliding down the pole and they're putting on their gear. But there does have to be a certain level of stress that gets them up and, they have to act quickly, and it's an emergency situation. So yes, there's going to be stress, but to be able to reset the body and brain into such a way that says, I can handle this. There's not urgency. There's not fight, flight, or freeze. I can calm back down so that you can actually handle those stressful things better and think quicker when you're not elevated is kind of the trick.
Yeah.
Is being able to say, for me personally, it would be like, so the kids were asked to put their shoes on and we're already 5 minutes late and everybody's just not listening to me, as my boys do. They usually pick those moments to then fight with each other. Or I'll have like one kid practicing the piano, one kid's missing, another kid is looking for his shoes but can't find them. I don't know, whatever. So I'm going, you guys, we're late, let's go. So I have to recognize in that moment that I'm feeling a level of urgency. And urgency is not where calm lives. And creativity and compassion can't live in urgency. So just being able to go, okay, how can I address this with being a little bit late to things is not the worst thing in the world. This is actually nobody's fault. These kids are just doing what kids do. Maybe I can go help some kids find their shoes and get moving, and we can do it. Even like being creative with it and saying, okay, what if we just made this into a fun game where I get the other two kids to go look for that one kid's shoe and we pretend like it's a Easter egg hunt. And I say, the Easter egg is this one's shoe. We're all going to go find the shoe. Can everybody help find the shoe? And whoever gets it gets a prize. And
but I think what you're talking about is the ability to step out of that urgency, regardless of the situation. Because, as a mom, we experience these situations on the daily, if not on the hourly. I was thinking, my children are raised, they're adults. So the struggles that you're dealing with them being small and trying to find shoes and all that, I've been there and I've experienced that. I don't live in that time of my life anymore, but no matter what, those situations are going to present themselves. Like yesterday, all 4 of the dogs that we have at my house got out the front door. The wind blew the front door open. I was out there throwing trash away and all 4 of them came running out. And my initial reaction, the unhealed version of myself, is to start yelling and screaming and chasing and freaking out, right? Like, you guys can't be out here. You're going to get hurt. You're going to get into something you're not supposed to. Go inside, go inside, go inside. So I was able to, in that moment, just go, okay, let's just push, let's approach this as calmly as possible.
Yeah.
And it was, okay, go inside. 2 of the dogs responded and went inside. And I was like, okay, 2 out of 4. I got the 3rd one inside, and then Hazel, my wonderful soul, heart healing dog that she is, enjoys her freedom. And I understand
She's
that.
like, I'm not.
Nope. She kept running away from me.
This.
And I looked at her and I said, I'm going inside. And whatever that was, I don't know if she could understand the words or the energy that I was putting towards her.
Oh, yeah.
And I turned around and I walked in the house and I closed the door. And I went to the window and I watched her, and she was like, she seriously just leave me out here? And so for a minute, she started to wander around our yard, and then she went out of my sight. So I went out in the front yard and I called her, and it was so much easier to allow her that space, the opportunity to sniff and look around. And then she was like, okay, Mom, all right, I'll go inside. And she did. I didn't have to freak out. I wasn't yelling and screaming. I wasn't chasing. I wasn't getting super frustrated. I just allowed it to
different energy.
Yes.
To be like panicked and back in the house right now.
Yes.
Or I'm going to go in.
These guys listened to me. And as I walked in the house, I was like, you guys are so good. Listen. You know what I mean? So it was like praising them, but I could see the wheels turning in her mind. So it's very similar to children, right? Obviously, they don't talk and they don't really understand. But that is a different energy too for kids. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And that is, I've noticed, something that they respond to more is, can I lean into what it is they're needing? And I do struggle with that, especially with my oldest, who he loves his autonomy and freedom. I know this. And part of it has been, consequences for his actions is to restrict his freedom. But it's hard because that is what he's seeking. So how can I both lean into and honor, well, how do I get him what he's needing instead of that being the consequence? And that's kind of what you did with Hazel, was like, she needs to be out here for a minute. Maybe she's just going to explore, scratch that itch, and then she'll come in when I call her. Yeah. So we're circling back again, right? To the balance. How do we balance our emotions? How do we balance how things trigger us into, instead of letting it push us up into that anxiety, panic, anger? How do we allow that? And then not allowing it to push us down into shame, depression, and negative self-talk. How do we find the balance? Yeah. Right. So a lot of it is just being able to stay present, to take that half a second to go, no, I'm going to do it different this time. And to watch the magic take over. Yeah. Because when you're putting that positive, upbeat, happy energy out there, even in times of stress, it is stressful. 4 dogs outside the house that are just they could go anywhere. And I'm one person. And I could freak out, and that would, for me, I know that pushes them in different directions, right? For me to take that moment and go, I don't know, but I'm not going to freak out this time. Yeah. And it turned out I had the dogs back in the house within a couple of minutes. And that's exactly what rewiring the brain looks like, is just taking something I normally would respond this way, but I'm trying something new. And now I'm creating a new pathway to getting what I want, to getting what I need, is this new pathway. And if that new pathway works better and you find out that it does, not only is it better for the dogs, for the situation, but it was I was so much healthier than being stressed, having my nervous system and everything activated. It's healthier and better for me, and I get my needs met better. So that new neural pathway is going to be reinforced over and over again. So when that situation presents itself, it's not going to be the natural reaction to get angry and worried and panicked. It'll be, let's take a step back real quick, super quick. how can we approach this differently this time? Remember last time how you stayed calm and gave Hazel her space? Let's try that again. See if it works. It might work. It might not. But yeah,
may have to take a walk and go find her.
Yes.
Is maybe what will happen. But either way. And that is the definition of, when they talk about, I can't remember who said it, but, depression is living in the past, anxiety is living in the future, and to come back into balance is to be present in now. And that doesn't mean you can't have some anticipations and visualizations of like, I want my future to look like this. These are the things I want to attract to myself. I think even in meditation, it's fun to play on that. That's kind of where my mind wanders to, is this is what I visualize for myself. This is what I visualize myself in 5 years. This is what I want my life to look like. Or even, my day ahead of me. This is what I would like my day ahead of me to look like. And then I just play it out in my head like an artist would paint it out on a picture. But then to say, okay, now I'm going to go live in that reality in my own space presently as I move through the day. So I have some cool things we'll share about that next time. But we're going to finish up today. And wow, just so many great things that we talked about. You guys are so lucky to be involved in our conversation because we're just brilliantly pontificating here with our theories. So we have copper as our crystal of the week here. First week of September, back to balance is the theme. And so come and visit Rising Moon Minerals.
Yes.
Tell them where they can find you.
Yeah, visit the website, risingmoonminerals.com. There's actually more on the website than it can actually fit in the shop. So there are a lot of options, a lot of descriptions. You can look at the crystals and it will give you the information like on the cards that I do. I am on Instagram, Rising Moon Minerals, TikTok, Facebook. Google me. Google Rising Moon Minerals and I should come up for you. The shop is here in Riverton, Utah, in Mountain View Village, right by Cinemark Theater and Kona Grill. So come.
You can see all the people walking by as we've been talking. I love the windows. They're just here while we're talking and people will just pop by.
Yeah.
Yep. Come and visit the shop. It's really great. And then if either of us are here, just come say hi. I'll be here a bit here and there. If you have questions, about crystals that you just want to reach out to Jaime, you have her website, you have her contact info. But if you want something specifically featured on the podcast, you can go to our pod page. I just updated it all with our pictures and profiles and contacts and all of that yesterday. So it's all up on the pod page, which is practically-magic.com. And that's magic with a CK, like old English magic. But there's a really cool little tab in the corner that says questions. And so you can insert questions for us that have to do with the healing world, the crystals, the magic, anything that you are looking for more clarity about. We can use that as a topic of discussion for our episodes. And we'll even give you a shout out if you want to. There's also a donate button on that page. So if there's, just any kind of appreciation, people who do podcasts don't really get paid a whole lot. We just do this for funsies. So if you wanted to buy us a coffee or something, I wouldn't say no to that. We'll share it. We'll get one coffee and we'll share it among the two of us, or you can buy us both a coffee. That would be great. So that's all on that pod page, and all the episodes of the podcast, seasons 1 and 2, and now season 3 are going to be up on that page. But you can also find us on YouTube. We have a new Instagram, practically_magic_podcast on Instagram. I'm just barely starting that up. So there's just a few videos and clips coming out there, but you can follow us and that would really be helpful. And please share and like episodes, follow and subscribe on YouTube because it really helps our following and attracts more sponsors and gets us paid and all the things that we want to do. For me, Prism Healing, you can find me on Instagram, prism_healing. I do energy healing work. I have full sessions, mini sessions, and card reading sessions, and more available on my website, prism-healing.com. And I'm going to take a quick second to just thank our sponsors. So we have Rising Moon Minerals as our main sponsor, obviously. But I would like to thank Sunshine Community. We're both members of the Sunshine Community and partners, and we love that it's just a great way to support all of the local businesses here in Utah that are started by women and women-run businesses. So thank you, Sunshine Community, and thank you, Ride the Wave Media, for producing and putting out this podcast. Just Blaine is our producer, and he also has Blaine's World. So go check that out if you want to hang out with him and see what he's doing. He's a blast. He's super fun to hang out with. You've seen him on my podcast before a couple of times. So thank you, and we'll see you next week. Witches and Wizards, go make magic.